Hi there, welcome to day 3 of the Advent of Projects. You may have seen a few days ago, maybe a week ago, I shared this Christmas decoration on my blog. I've had quite a lot of responses about this because people have asked sort of how it's made. It really is that simple, so I thought it'd be nice to include it in our Advent of Projects today. So I'm going to be making a slightly different shape this time, just to show you how sort of adaptable it is really. It's a shape I've kind of sketched, so we'll see if it works as we go along. But you can get the general gist of how these are made, and I'll talk you through the elements on this particular one as I make them so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to pop that just to one side. It's sort of just so it's out of the way. Now what you're going to need is strips of DSP. So I have used this time the Whimsy and Wonder DSP, but you can literally use any you want to. And of course the paper has two sides, so you can decide which you want to see. Now the vast majority of the time you see what's inside rather than what's on the outside. Unless you actually look at it like that, you tend to just see what's inside. So just bear that in mind. So don't put all your favourite ones on the outside, because it is often the inside you see. Okay, so first of all we're going to make our little teardrops. So all I've done, I've got strips of paper. Now to make this one we needed 25 strips. I've made 30 for this one, which I think is what we're going to need, but if it ends up changing then obviously I'll adapt to that. So these are 5 inches long by 3/4 of an inch high. And you can make these whatever size you want to. So if you want a really small one, then you would obviously make them a lot smaller, bearing in mind it's obviously going to be a lot fiddlier. And again, if you wanted really big ones to go perhaps in a window display or something, you could make them all that much bigger. So it's entirely up to you. So these, as I say, are 5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. And then I've just scored and folded at 1/4 of an inch just on one end. And on that end, I'm just going to add some glue. And I want to fold over the end to make the loop. Now I don't want to, if I can help it, bend this end at this time. I want it to be kept in this teardrop shape, because some of them will remain that shape and some of them will be folded. So it's best to leave them all as they are for now, and then we can fold them as we go. So I have done 6 in this particular design. So I have pre-prepared all these so that it just saves a little bit of time. So this is going to create a little flower inside like this. Okay, so I've had a lot of questions about how I glued them. Now you could use whatever you wanted really. If you like double-sided tape, you could use double-sided tape. You could use a hot glue gun if you wanted to. I didn't feel the need really for a hot glue gun because it's quite light, so these are going to sort of hold it together quite nicely. I just used our multi-purpose glue. So the first thing I want to do is to put a little hanger on it. So I'm going to do that first, and I want that to be between 2 of these actual petal shapes. So I'm just going to take 2 to start with. And this time I've dug out our metallic mesh ribbon. I think this is quite nice. It's really soft, but it is sort of quite thick. So I'm probably going to cut this in half. So I just want to create myself a loop, and I want that loop to be to go down to the center of my petals, and then however much I want to have as a hanger. Now that probably is just a wee bit too much. So oops, if I cut it, and then I can give you an idea of length. Just straighten that end off there. Okay, so I'd say it's probably about 8 inches long, something like that. As I say, this is a little bit wide, so I am just going to cut it down the middle. Remember, with all our ribbons, you don't have to keep them as they are. A lot of them fray really nicely, so if you cut them in half, you can get a really nice frayed edge, so don't forget that. Sometimes the thicker ribbons tend to get forgotten because they're so wide, but actually they're really useful. Okay, so I'm going to pop one of those to one side, and I'm just going to grab some double-sided tape. So what I want to do is just to add a little bit of tape, just about an inch up from that center point Let's see, I'm not measuring it or anything. I've just literally just gone up to this point here. And now I just want to remove the back of my tape. And I'm just going to stick one end of my ribbon onto that there. And then that's going to create my loop. Okay, so I want this to be on the other end of my loop. So just make sure that I've got it around the right way. I'm just going to pop that onto there. Okay, so, and I've managed to twist, there we go. So these two are now going to stick together in a little while. Okay, so I'm going to start off with those two, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to glue too much in this centre part at the moment, because I'm going to be putting some more petals in there, or snow elements. So I'm just gluing them together just at the very end. And I'm going to do the same on all the others. So I'm just literally just a little bit of glue at the end. Try and get that centre point together. We can add more glue afterwards. It's better to add a little now, and then you can go back in. And of course you can use these the other way. So you can have them with that in the centre and the points going outwards. So it's not set in stone. You just have a play around with the elements. And this one I'm just going to glue on both sides and pop into the middle. Oops. So just make sure that they've all glued into place. Okay, so that's the start of our decoration. Now what I want to do is I'm going to do some pieces in the centre here. Now on this particular one, these big loops are these, but I pinched them at the other end as well. So I literally just pinched them to get that shape. I'm going to keep these ones a little bit more rounded, so I'm going to leave those. But what I want to do is to put a couple inside. So I'm taking another loop, and these ones are the different coloured paper, but I've got the blue inside this time. And I want to pinch it so it's flat, and then I'm going to fold it in half and pinch it again. Okay, and then if you just squish it, you start to get that sort of leafy shape, the pointed leaf like we have in this one here. So I'm going to do that for two of them. Sometimes they don't flatten straight away. You just have to get your finger in between and give them a little squish. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do, I'm going to take glue again, either end, and I'm going to pop it inside my little petal. And I'm going to do the same again. And inside again. Now you can choose to either push it really down into the middle, or you can do it so it sits up a little way, and then all you'll need to do is just to squish it together, and that will start closing that loop up a little bit. Once you get one or two in place, you'll find that it will start sort of coming together, and it actually becomes stronger as well. So don't be afraid just to pop your finger in, or what I sometimes do is get a pen or something and just open those shapes up a little bit. I don't want them open too much because we're having those as more pointy ones on the inside. So I'm going to repeat that for the other 5. Okay, so I've got 2 in each hole now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and open them up a little bit. As I say, you just need to allow these to sort of settle really, and once they're glued in place we can then start sort of manipulating them a little bit more. But we don't want them to open too much, we just want them to be nice and sort of as even as we can get them really. Okay, so again, I'll have a bit more of a fiddle with those in a little while. I just want to now start filling the other gaps, because the other gaps will then start putting it together, and you'll notice that it will start to sort of form a different shape really. So my little picture that I have drawn, or my little sketch, allows for 2 more of these between each of the large petals. So I'm going to try one to start with just to see how it looks, and then we can have a look at it from there. So again, I'm just gluing down either side, and I want to go in between my hanger ribbon, and I just want to close it up in the middle here. Okay, so I've just closed that up. You can see there's a bit of a gap where that ribbon is, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue in there, and I'm going to squeeze that together. So then you can see that will start pulling that shape together. So I think when I add additional ones, so if I just do another one quickly, so we'll open them all up in a minute. So before I glue this into place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more glue between the sections. Just going to push it together lightly before I pop this in. And then once that goes in where I want it to go, I'm then going to squeeze everything together. So you open one and the other closes, but you'll get the idea, and then when I say we can pop it together properly. So again, I'm just going to add a little bit more glue between the sections, and I can pop that in and squeeze everything together. Just make sure that they lay flat, because sometimes they have a tendency to lift just very slightly, and you don't want that to happen, so just bear that in mind. So we're nearly there. So I hope you can see just how simple this is to make. It's a little bit fiddly because you've got to do quite a bit of cutting, and you've also got to stick all your strips together. But once that's actually done, the going together is quite quick. Three more to go. Okay, so that is all our elements stuck together. Now, if you want to, you can pop in and add little bits more glue if you want to, if there's any particular section that you feel needs a bit more glue. But now what I want to do is I want to try and open these out a little bit. Okay, so you can see now I had a bit of a fiddle and opened up some of those petals so you can really begin to see sort of how they're going to look. I would spend a little bit more time just sort of playing with them, manipulating them really, and if you feel that you need to put any more glue in anywhere then you can. I quite like all the sort of open gaps and things because I think it sort of adds to the overall effect. So I hope you like that. I hope you'll give it a go. If you want to do a bit of more decoration on the top like I did with this one, that's just the simple pinwheel that we did on day one, just a very small version of it. So I hope you like that, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye.